Hey everybody, great to have you back here in the fish tank. We're about to check out the two new cards that were just added to Minion Masters in the Rolling Thunder update. Let's get it. Right, this is a Scrat themed expansion, so we're going to check out also the new Ratbo skin, the Pretty in Pink that's available in the Battle Pass. It's not just a basic recolor of, it's similar to the Witch Hunter Ratbo and the Duke Ratbo, but obviously it has some specific changes as well, and it does have a heart animation, I think. So we'll check that out. Right, so let's have a look at the new cards. So I've built a little deck here to check out the two new cards, as well as some of the Scrat cards that got balance changes. We'll see how those have been changed. Right, so the first new card is the Wartrack Dreadnaught, and this card improves or changes as the game goes on depending on which perk you're at. So it's not based on how often you play it, but it is based on which perk you're at when you play it. So it starts off as a 5 mana ranged minion. It is mythic, so it can't be revived, only have one of them at a time, etc. And it does have piloted, so when it dies it drops a scrat. So in its basic form, 50 damage, so every 2 seconds, so 25 DPS, 450 health. It is a ranged minion, 8 range, but only can hit ground. But whilst it starts as a 5 mana minion, it doesn't stay as that. So it changes depending on how far into the game you are. So it doesn't evolve if it's on the battlefield, but it does evolve as you're playing it depending on which perk you're at. So if you're after perk 2 when you play it, it becomes a 7 mana card, gets 200 extra health, so up to 650 health, gains an extra 2 piloted, so that's 3 scrats it drops when it dies, and it gains an extra attack. So when you first spawn it, it will just have one of these cannons. The second time you spawn it, it will have the second cannon, and then we'll see the third time in a second, it has this scrat launcher kind of at the top there. So after perk 2, it will do 100 damage, 2 lots of 50 every 2 seconds, so overall 50 DPS. And then if you play it after perk 3, it becomes a 9 mana minion, but it has an extra 500 health, so 950 health, quick maths, gains additional 4 piloted, so drops 5 scrats when it dies, and it gets its third and final attack, which as mentioned was this scrat launcher at the top, where it shoots missile scrats out of the back. So these are kind of like the Scratillery scrats, where they do the damage and then you get a scrat after it. So you can see here it does 50 damage, 25 to face. It will attack a random enemy in range. And then the scrat will come out after that's attacked. So we'll check that out. So that's the first new card. The second new card is the Kamikazeppelin, which is a 6 mana scrat spell, and the Zeppelin bomber, the Kamikazeppelin bomber, will come flying in, dropping bombs as it goes. So it is a targeted spell, and then when it gets to its target, boom, it crashes into the ground, does 150 damage, or 75 to face. It also has piloted, so it drops a scrat, and it is targetable. Like you can shoot down a Frost Feather coming in with the Frost Feather flyby, you can do the same with this, so you can prevent it, so that's something that needs to be considered. Right, so those are the two new cards. Let's check them out in action. Right, so we're just going to test this against the bot, so the hardest thing is going to be not winning after 3 seconds, but let's see what we can do. Okay, so the Wartrack Dreadnaught, as you can see, it starts off as a 5 mana card. It's not going to change until we get up to perk 2. So let's drop this guy here in the pocket. And here you can see Ratbo's Pretty in Pink. You see all these hearts coming off from his shots. Right, so this is the base version of the model. You can see it's not as impressive as the final version that we'll see in a little bit. Also has only 1 cannon.
Red has obtained their first perk.
Right, so here's the Kamikazeppelin, which we can send in if there's anything to hit.
Blue has obtained their first perk.
Right. Here you see the Scrat tunnel. You see the Scrats will only spawn from one side of it, depending on which is closer. Right, new Zeppelin. Here you can see it's got haste. Doesn't have a shield on the basic version. And the snipers spawn as sneaky, so they're invisible to start with. So we're not quite at perk 2 yet, so we're still at the base version Scrat at, kind of its working name. Sometimes we have to burn mana against the bot just to not get too many big pushes. Right, so you can see we're up to a 2... Sorry, we're at perk 2 now, so we've got the 7 mana version of this. So it's got the 2 cannons and the extra HP. We haven't used the Zeppelin, the Kamikazeppelin yet. Just used the regular Zeppelin. Okay, so that absolutely slaughters the blue golem. Okay, let's send the Kamikazeppelin in here. See, it comes in pretty damn fast. It's targetable. And then when it crashes into the ground... Oh, it got stunned as it was hitting the ground. Huge explosion that looks awesome. You can see the explosion did hit air as well. That's one thing to keep in mind. Right, let's test out the regular Zeppelin bomber with the no Scrat swarm. So you can see it'll be slow, very slow, but it does have that huge chunky barrel shield. So it is protected against spells. See, again, the snipers spawn invisible, but only that first time. Once they've attacked, they're no longer invisible. This might die. Yep. Okay. Right, we are at perk 3 now. Just try to not get too murdered here. Right, so here we go. This is the big boy, the 3rd version. So it's got both cannons, and it's got the attack at the top, the back. So let's see how that works out. Okay, so you can see it's firing on face, dropping a Scrat as well. But it does say it attacks a random enemy. You can see how powerful this is, though. AoE, of course, from the attack. I don't think its base attack has AoE, but his Scrat launcher on the back definitely does. So he definitely seems like a very strong addition to the game. And there we go, that's the 2 new cards, and a bunch of the Scrat changes, and the new skin, all in one efficient video. Right, hopefully you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think of these new cards. Really exciting to see how they work out on the battlefield. The new Scrat out the Wartrack Dreadnaught does seem like it's going to be strong, but let's see if anybody can do some great stuff with it. Let's see what weakness it has. Let's see how it gets into the meta, if at all. Right, as always, if you're enjoying the content here in the Fish Tank, would love to have you as a subscriber. Give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, let me know what you think of these new stuff, these new cards, and I'll see you on the battlefield. I'm Bad as Fish, and I'll see you again soon.